Nerd alert!
You get called geeks, you get cleaned out, girls don't even look at you.
I'm a nerd. So am I. Your appearance is comical to me.
Nerd!
This never happened in all the 72 original Star Trek episodes.
You mean 73 episodes?
No, there were 72.
No, there weren't!
Oh, you are such a nerd!
I think nerd culture, it's an interesting word, and sometimes it's a little misconstrued.
It used to have sort of a negative connotation, but I feel like nowadays everyone's a nerd about something.
Since about 2001, it's been a steady increase of people accepting it and integrating it into their lives.
I know a lot of people used to be kind of ashamed of being really nerdy.
Nowadays, it's awesome. Being a nerd is actually kind of like a badge of honor.
I would just define nerd culture as somebody who enjoys platforms of entertainment that are perhaps movies, TV shows, video games.
It pretty much started with the Spider-Man movie and the X-Men movie. Those are what did it. Everybody loves Batman. My mom is 68 and likes Batman. So Batman doesn't count. So when they did the stuff in the 80s, I mean, it just wasn't the same. People were just like, oh, it's Batman. Anytime you do a Batman movie, it's gonna do good. So Spider-Man and the X-Men, out of nowhere, and they were well done, and that's when everybody just started liking comic book stuff and nerd stuff in general.
There's certainly differences between nerd and geek. Those cultures are definitely a little different.
Historically speaking, geek is an older word. Geek was used by carnivals at the turn of the century. There were usually people that performed some really weird tricks and tasks and were very skilled at strange things. I mean, sometimes in carnivals, the geeks were the ones like biting chicken heads off, or performing like really weird dexterity tricks. So those were the geeks in the carnival.
Obviously, there are very rich and powerful people in the tech world, like Bill Gates, people in the .com industry who have helped to legitimize the nerd in popular culture and beyond. And I think it's reflected in television shows and films. We see, of course, Big Bang Theory, Tina Fey's shows, things like that. Those are certainly contributing to the widespread acceptance.
Nerd, on the other hand, is actually a more modern word. I believe Dr. Seuss was one of the very first ones to use it.
Dr. Seuss's If I Ran the Zoo was published in 1950, and an animated film was released in 1992.
Creep and a pro, a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker too.
The term was popularized in the 1970s by its heavy use in the sitcom Happy Days.
It's not a total loss, a two-headed nerd contest, and you'll never guess who won.
Anybody who's into football and fantasy football, you're a nerd because you are unironically happy about doing a game which is basically D&D with football players. You're just crunching numbers and having make-believe fights, and that's it. D&D is basically just fantasy football. I've been playing D&D since I was 14, I think, so that'd be 10 years.
It's basically Nerds Anonymous. We all get together with people who like to make things and do things, and we kind of put that creative energy into a particular hobby, so it's a pretty cool thing. I lived in Newsom my freshman year, and we were walking back past these windows, going back from dinner, and we saw a bunch of swords leaning up against the wall, and we were like, well, we have to do whatever's happening in there. And here we are, 3 years later.
One of the big things I love about D&D is that anybody can show up and anybody can play, and I didn't want to have to turn people away like that, so I just said, I guess I can be Dungeon Master now, and everyone was cool with that.
Depending on who you ask, the more serious you get, the less like LARPing it is, but we do have personas, and we play like melee games, Capture the Princess, Battle Bridge, things like that. So it could technically be called LARPing. Some people might be like, no, we're not LARPers, but personally call it LARPing, because we are pretending to be other people, and we are playing/fighting.
You pick a character like, I want to be a sorcerer or I want to be a fighter. Then the DM tells you, today we're going to be going through this dungeon, or we're going to be fighting the evil forces of this guy. You say, I check the door for traps or something like that. Then you roll and see if you can find them. When you start fighting someone, you and he both have hit points. So whoever gets to 0 first dies, and then you keep moving through the dungeon.
It got started about 25 years ago. The 25th anniversary is happening, I think, sometime in the next couple years. The worldwide organization is called the Society for Creative Anachronisms. So we're a medieval reenactment society. We do the fighting, obviously, but we also do, we make garb, we make art, we do calligraphy, sword making, blacksmithing, all kinds of stuff. Almost everything you see here has been made by someone in the Barony. All of the swords, we buy the blades from Zen Warrior, but all of the handles and the pommels, the guards are either salvaged or made. All of this garb, this jacket was handmade by someone in the Barony. So we're a lot of artsy craftsy people.
It offers not just a metaphorical escape, it's literally, I am this person for this amount of time, versus video games where you have to look at the screen and like the character's not you. It's one of my big stress relievers. I don't go to the gym, I don't have a little stress ball. What I have is, at the end of every week, I know I have a place to go and like let off some steam with my friends.
Fencing is technically a martial art, so it's good for fitness. It's like working out but fun. It's really fun. I've made a lot of really close friends in this society. I've learned a lot of cool skills.
At the end of every game, at least one quote that we want to like post online. If I drop a orca on her, what happens? So the chickens grow on the trees. Does that make them vegan?
I can say, hey, yeah, I can sword fight. I'm a legitimate sword fighter. So that's pretty fun.
My mom used to buy me Transformers comics. They used to do packs of 3 to 5 comics for like $1. I was 7 when they came out. 1984, I was in homeschooling. So, I mean, I sat at home all day.
Well, getting started mostly because I was born. I've been doing this since I was 2. My parents were heavily involved. We went to a major war event for their honeymoon when I was 4. Pretty much just been doing it my whole life.
I was young, so my mom had me watch Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, stuff like that. And you know, I already know how to read, so I was looking through the TV guide and I saw Transformers, and you know, there's robots, and I'm like, robots? Okay, I'm in. So I watched it. According to my mom, I would transform while I was watching it. I was 7, what do you want from me?
I'm one of a lot of people that it becomes more of a lifestyle than a hobby. One of the things my mom always used to say when I was growing up was the SCA is a place where you can go to learn to be your better self and then transfer it into when you're not dressed up like a strange person running around with a sword.
So she would buy me comic books of Transformers. And in one of the packs, there was a classic X-Men. And classic X-Men back in the 80s was just reprinting 70s X-Men. So I read that and I was hooked. Like I literally just started buying classic X-Men, then I started buying Uncanny X-Men, then New Mutants and X-Factor, and it just went from there.
So we each have at least one persona, some of us multiple personas. I actually have 2. One is a Welsh woman, Rhiannon Fiafin. The other is a Persian woman, whose name I haven't figured out yet because their names are complicated and long. It depends on the person, how much you really get into it. I mean, some people could tell you what's happening in their village that particular day, what the current events of their persona's time are, who's the king, where they're from.
So these 4 are just like random. This stuff is all stuff I was at that point intending on keeping. These 2 are all Transformers, like nothing but Transformers. And then all of these are just X-Men stuff.
General time frame, I know she's a Safavid, which is an era of Persian history, and she's a belly dancer, which means that she's actually a very empowered woman. She's belly dancers were part of groups of women that met together and they danced exclusively for women. This wasn't something that men ever saw.
This chunk right here is worth about $1,000. This is the first full-blown series of Deadpool. Right here. So this was the first mini-series they did. I don't know. Mind you, I got that when it came out.
As for the Welsh woman, the Welsh are just kind of incredible people to me, and they're actually my ancestry. I'm very Welsh myself. And about the only thing I know in specific about her, because Welsh history, they don't necessarily change a ton. The fashions change, the technology changes, but they're a relatively consistent culture. But my favorite thing about the Welsh, the reason I have a Welsh persona, is all about music. They loved music. There was a harp in every house, You knew how to play, or you knew how to sing, or you knew how to do both, which I just think is incredible.
I still collect comics. I've been getting back into it, picking up back issues, and then I don't really so much do it anymore, but I do collect Transformers, like comic books as well as toys. I've got 700 toys at this point. Close to it. I'm close to having 700. When I actually started putting ink into skin, that was about 4 years ago, August. I got into the industry about 5 years ago. About a year of just grunt work, cleaning stuff.
My wife Melissa and I, we were living in DC. We were both intelligence analysts. We were looking for really nerdy places for other intel analysts to go hang out. Couldn't find very many. We started to look into actually opening a place up, our ideal place up, instead of waiting for one just to pop up.
So I make gaming videos and I put them on YouTube. Primarily I play this game called Destiny, and I make funny gaming videos, a little more lighthearted. I like to focus on the fun you can have while doing games.
Drop the napalm midway through flight and watch as the world burns around you.
As of recording this, I currently have 350,000 subscribers, but I gain about 1,000 to 2,000 a day.
There's a really quick motto. It's a tavern for geeks and gamers. So you don't have to be a geek, you don't have to be a nerd, you don't strictly have to be a board gamer either. It's people that just want a nice, good, accepting place to come in and hang out and just disconnect.
I get like a 50% of people that want nerd stuff. And I mean, there are people that, you know, I do a nerd tattoo on somebody and then they tell one of their friends and then that person comes in, oh, well, you did this on my friend. You know, so that's usually how it works.
I started to make one I was really proud of, and so I posted on Reddit. The next day, I was driving to Las Vegas, where I was headed, and I got a call from my friend, and he's like, dude, your video has 40,000 views. And I was like, what? And so apparently it hit top page on the Reddit subthread. And so from there, I started posting more. Reddit seemed to really like it, and ever since then, I figured it would sort of peak and then come back down, but it's just been a steady growth from there.
We figure rather than wait once a year for another convention to open up, you can essentially make it a convention every time you show up here. 365 days a year, every time they wear a costume, then they come in and get the discount. We have a little joke that if they change in the bathroom, they get the 5% discount, which is the Superman Clark Kent discount.
If somebody comes to me and they're like, I want a Spider-Man tattoo, I'm gonna draw Spider-Man. I'm going to sit down and figure out how Spider-Man's gonna look best on that person's body. Because from my perspective, Spider-Man has been drawn by hundreds of people since the 60s. I don't feel like it's necessary for me to pull from one specific artist at that point.
If you ask any YouTube content creator, that's probably the most daunting part about being a YouTuber, is that tomorrow it could just all end. It could all just crumble and you don't know why, and there's nothing you can really do. So for me, it's just enjoying the time I have here on this platform, making videos for people that enjoy watching me, and hopefully just enjoying this chapter of my life.
I like to hear from people and create events that they want to see, because in reality, I mean, Melissa and I, we built this place, you know, make us feel at home, but more importantly, to make other people feel at home too. So every now and then, well, more often now than before, I'll get random hugs. People come up and say thank you. And yeah, I think that's the best part, is just hearing the feedback from people.
I mean, if I had it my way, 100% of the tattoos I did would be nerd tattoos. I would love it if I was booked out 6 months in advance and everything was just a bunch of people that were crazy nerds coming in and wanting some elaborate piece. As a tattoo artist, I look at other people's tattoo work, other tattoo artists that do nerd work, and there's a lot of people that do certain things, but I don't feel like every avenue has been tapped yet. I like taking a comic book character or any kind of character and actually drawing it in a comic book style in a way that actually fits the body. That's the way that I think it should be.
If I could sum up what we want everyone to feel is like, come in your pajamas. That's how comfortable we want it to feel.
So whether it be YouTube or any other avenue in life, like I said with the gaming, just enjoy what you do, and just you'll regret not going after it. So just follow your dreams, man. Follow your dreams.
There was this stereotype, the person who wore the big horn-rimmed glasses, the pocket protector, had braces.
Back in middle school, when I had first started playing D&D, and in early high school, if I had told someone that I play D&D, the usual response was, why?
We here in the United States, our culture of very much like fearing the other. We do it with ethnic groups, we do it with cultural groups, we do it with religious groups, so we tend to congregate with the people that agree with our own ideas.
Every time you displayed anything nerd, you got beat up or made fun of something.
Being a nerd in general, I was bullied and harassed.
There was real kind of social inhibitions because people didn't want to be bullied.
I think that we're in some ways stepping in the right direction. We still have a long ways to go.
If for some reason you're getting bullied by somebody or they're looking down at you, they have something else going on in their life. They don't understand it, and perhaps they're jealous or something of what you have. Whatever it is, enjoy what you're doing.
You're not alone, and then there are increasingly more people like you in the world. And just look around, look at the top CEOs, the people in the tech industry.
No one cares if you dress funny or you play a game. It's less about the social hierarchy once you get out of those gates.
If you're a kid that's getting ostracized, I mean, it's not really, there's no point in conforming. You're gonna lose yourself, you're gonna lose out on having a lot of fun.
You have to be a little bit weird to think in a different way. You have to be a little bit weird to do something new. That's still something worth holding on to and worth being proud of.
There were other YouTube content creators that helped me get through certain times. And the fact that people are telling me that now, it's hard to fully comprehend that I'm that person to some people. It's very humbling.
Hi, I'm Danny Castillo, and I'm definitely a nerd.
My name is Stuart Meyer, and I am a nerd.
I'm Rhiannon Bunny, otherwise known as Lady Rhiannon Fia Finn, and I am a very proud nerd.
My name is Manny Garza, and I am part geek and a quarter nerd.
My name is Scott Different, and I am a nerd.
My name is Bergen Adair, and I am proud to be a nerd.
My name is Mr. Fruit, and I am a nerd.
My name is Sean McKendrick, and I am a nerd for life.